Welcome back to session 3 of our journey through the book of Zephaniah. Remember, we started looking at the right judgment God was going to deal out because of the idolatry in the land. And there was this call from Zephaniah for the people to seek the Lord, seek the Lord, seek the Lord. Well, here in Zephaniah chapter 2, we're going to see the immense persecution God's people were facing from the surrounding nations. We so often hear of brothers and sisters being persecuted for their faith. For some it means physical attack or even death. And maybe you have experienced some form of persecution for staking your life on Jesus. It might be physical attack or maybe more like taunting or belittling. And the question we're left with is, where is God in all this? And even if he is around, then why isn't he doing anything about it? Because Zephaniah references here 4 sets of nations that surround his people in Israel. Philistia to the west, Moab and Ammon to the east, Cush far to the south, and Assyria to the north. These nations were renowned for constantly crossing their borders and attacking God's people. But what does Zephaniah say to them? To Philistia, woe to you who live by the sea, you Kerethite people. The word of the Lord is against you, Canaan, land of the Philistines. He says, I will destroy you, and none will be left. To Moab and Ammon, I've heard the insults of Moab and the taunts of the Ammonites, who insulted my people and made threats against their land. This is what they will get in return for their pride, for insulting and mocking the people of the Lord Almighty. The Lord will be awesome to them when he destroys all the gods of the earth. To Cush, you Cushites too will be slain by my sword. And finally to Assyria, he will stretch out his hand against the north and destroy Assyria, leaving Nineveh utterly desolate and dry as the desert. This is the city of revelry that lived in safety. She said to herself, I am the one, and there is none besides me. What a ruin she has become. From every angle, God's people were receiving attack after attack. These cities each had radically different cultures and armies and politics, and yet God strategically calls out each of them and shows them the judgment they'll receive for setting themselves up as superior and for mocking his people. Because when you insult the people of God, you insult God himself. The nations think God is somehow inferior to them, yet really he is sovereign over them. I once met a believer from North Korea through the ministry of Open Doors. She was arrested for being a Christian after trying to flee to China and was sentenced to work in a labour camp. Now I remember talking to her about the sign at the entrance to the camp, and she said it read, do not try to escape, you will be killed. And yet in that dark place, she was able to share her food with fellow prisoners and even quietly share her faith. Through her ministry, under immense persecution, 5 people came to know Jesus Christ. And they started to meet secretly in the toilets. She would share the message of hope from the scriptures she'd memorized. And amazingly, she was later released and able to escape to South Korea. Against this evil, God's righteous judgment will be poured out. So lots of us won't be physically harmed for being a Christian, but we will likely be mocked or pitied for our faith. God will judge them. And you see, all this persecution at its core is actually pride. Assyria says, I am the one. There is none besides me. This is a superpower with huge military strength. They've lived in safety, in revelry. They thought they were untouchable. And you know, people will always deny the coming day of the Lord. There will always be those that taunt and accuse God's people and boast in their own strength. But they will face the full weight of God's judgment one day. Because God is at work behind the scenes, He is the one who chooses which nations rise and which fall. And I think there's a warning here. If you're in a country that says anything to the effect of, I am the one, there is none besides me, I think you should beware. You've just got to look at history. I mean, is there any proud nation from the past left standing today? I love through this chapter, there are so many details of how God steadily cares for his people. He calls them my people. God Almighty will deal with those who stand opposed to his people, and he cares for his people and will restore them. The land by the sea will become pastures, having wells for shepherds and sheepfolds for flocks. That land will belong to the remnant of the people of Judah. There they will find pasture. In the evening they will lie down in the houses of Ashkelon. The Lord, their God, will care for them. He will restore their fortunes. And there's an interesting phrase in verse 11. Distant nations will bow down to him, all of them in their own lands. There is hope here that even those who persecute God's people, that those worshipping idols will come to fear the living God for themselves. This is beautiful. People from every nation bowing down in their own lands and worshipping the Lord. In Luke chapter 2, just after Jesus had been born, Simeon took him in his arms and said, "My eyes have seen your salvation, which you've prepared in the sight of all the nations, a light for revelation to the Gentiles and the glory of your people Israel." Just before his ascension, Jesus shared with his disciples that they would be his witnesses in Jerusalem and in all Judea and Samaria and to the ends of the earth. And the final destination? There before me was a great multitude that no one could count, from every nation, tribe, people and language, standing before the throne and before the Lamb. They were wearing white robes and were holding palm branches in their hands. And they cried out in a loud voice, "Salvation belongs to our God who sits on the throne and to the Lamb." Look, maybe you've experienced some form of persecution for staking your life on Jesus, whether physical or taunting or belittling. And I get it. It's really hard. But we started asking the question, where is God in all this? And I want to say that he's right there with you. He's not far off. He's not uninterested. And he will do something about it. He will bring justice, perhaps in this life, but definitely in the life to come. Stand strong in these truths. God is so protective of his people. As Christians and Christianity is looked down on by the world, he will stand by his people. He will bless them. And he will bring together a people right across the globe and all through history, made up of those who bow the knee to God Almighty.